Today, I invite you on a remarkable journey through the pages of my 2023 Junk Journal planners. These aren't just planners, they're stories, they're art, they're memories, all uniquely bound in recycled grocery paper bags. Let's start with their humble beginnings. These journals begin their lives surprisingly flat, but as the months pass, they bloom into beautifully chubby keepers of time and memories. It's a physical transformation that mirrors the rich experiences they encapsulate. The one on the left is my current planner, compared to the one I finished after 4 months in December. Each cover is a prelude to the creativity within. I decorate them with images from the first month's kit for that journal, setting the stage for what's to come. This has become a cherished tradition in my Junk Journal planner making process. The covers, wrapped in hand-picked designer fabrics, embody my favorite journal style. They're soft, cozy, huggable, yet so wonderfully flexible. And as the journal fills, the spine expands beautifully, avoiding that gator mouth effect. Inside each journal, you'll find 4 signatures, one for each month. These aren't mere pages, they're a canvas where junk journal art and planning converge seamlessly. In these pages, life unfolds. From appointments to to-dos, every aspect finds a place. I also track my steps, my fitness journey, and even the books I read, complete with personal ratings. But it's not all about tasks and goals. Each journal is also a vessel of memories. I incorporate ephemera, photos, and snippets of life, transforming these planners into a mosaic of moments. It's a beautiful way to keep memories alive. For this spread, for example, I recreated the look of the memory book I made of my parents in a workshop, keeping the memory of that amazing experience close to my heart. So that was the memory book I made. And this looks kind of like some of the pages that I created in that book. And this, by the way, is my mom. Now let's talk about customization. My monthly digital kits available in my shop are the starting point for each page. They come with blank calendar pages adaptable for any month, allowing you the freedom to plan as you like. Or if you prefer, you can opt for the background pages without the calendar for pure memory keeping or artistic expression in a junk journal. Variety is the spice of life, and that's why I love mixing elements from different monthly kits. It adds a unique flavor to each page, keeping the creative process fresh and exciting on every page. Recycling is a key part of my philosophy. Art from old, unloved journals gets a new lease on life in my pages. I combine coffee-dyed papers with smaller papers, envelopes, and even paper bags, creating a delightful blend of textures and hues. The fusion of fabric and paper, often stitched together with a sewing machine, adds a tactile dimension to the experience. Each journal is a dance of vintage and modern. Inspired by each kit, I experiment with color combinations and materials, ensuring that every month has its own unique character. As we step into the present, let's move into my current journal for the beginning of 2024. We're in February, and here you can see the blank construction of the signatures from March and April, ready to be filled with plans, art, and memories. I extend a warm invitation for you to join me in the upcoming months. Every month, In the third week, I share a new Plan With Me video. In these updates, you'll get to discover my latest digital kit, a retrospective of my previous month's signature decorations. Once in a while, I'll sprinkle in some book reviews. And lastly, a sneak peek into how I begin decorating my journal with the new kit. These regular updates are more than just sharing. They're about connecting, inspiring, and growing together in our love for junk journaling and planning. So if you're as passionate about this as I am, make sure to subscribe and follow along. It's a journey filled with creativity, memories, and the endless joy of journaling. In a recent post on my YouTube community page, I reached out to all of you for questions about my junk journal planners. The response was fantastic, so thank you so much. And I've gathered some of your most intriguing inquiries, so let's dive into those questions. So I'm going to start out with one from Elsa. I would like to know more about how you use it. Like, do you write and work in it daily, like a day journal, or do lots one day and then nothing for a few days? So thank you for your question, Elsa. So we're back in my current journal. And for example, we could look at this page, we could look at any page. So this was mid of January. And I do use this planner daily. This is for me really all in one, and I have it on my desk all the time because I add things all the time. So the very least I would do in a day is write down what I do. So on the left here, where I have my calendar page, I add the things that I have done throughout the day. These are mostly work-related things, but they're also things that are important to me or things that I want to keep track of. And of course, I also keep appointments in my phone, but this is more, I would say, task-oriented. So to give you a concrete example, Monday, January 15th, I went to the fitness center, yay me. Then I finally did my bookkeeping for last quarter of 2023. That's always fun. I uploaded my February kit to my shop, and I created the plain backgrounds for the February kit and uploaded them to my shop. That was a super busy day. On Tuesday, I prepped and filmed a video. I edited the video, so that would have taken most of the day. And then I created the Valentine's kit and added it to my shop. So again, another very busy day. So these things I put in multiple times during the day, not only just for me to remember what I've done when, but also this makes me feel like I'm productive. You know what I mean? Like, if I wouldn't do this, I would just keep doing things throughout the day. And at the end of the day, I would think, okay, so the day has passed, but what have I actually done? I don't feel productive. But somehow when I see it like this, I'm like, oh, you did a pretty good job today, you know, or vice versa. If I didn't, then I'm like, girl, you need to do a little bit more. So for me, this is super, super helpful and just helps me to stay on track. On this right side, I will always add my to-dos. So in this case, I have it here in a pocket that was inspired by a potato bag. I will link that video for you below in case you want to see how I made this pocket. That was a lot of fun. And inside here, I have my tag onto which I always write my to-dos. And my to-dos are either from the previous week, ones that I have not fulfilled the previous week, I will carry them over to the current week, or I add them as I think of things. And obviously I will check them off, and whatever I don't do, I then move on to the next week. And as you can see here, I also sometimes add photos, rarely of myself, but in this case I did. Maybe you've seen this instrument before. It's called a hand pan. And my BFF and I had a hand pan workshop in January, and we were so in love. These instruments are absolutely gorgeous. They're also absolutely horrendously expensive. So we're both thinking how to continue, because you can't practice without a hand pan, but also you don't know if you're going to invest in one if you don't know if you're going to continue playing. So it's a bit of a difficult situation at the moment. and to rent them is super expensive. And we're not able to find any courses here in Vienna. There are online courses, but again, you need your own hand pan. So not easy. So I journaled about it on the back. So I will add some journaling if I document experiences like this as well. So that is basically how I use my planner. I also add bits that I'm sent in the mail. So here's a very special letter that I received from a friend, and so on. I create art in it when I feel like it. Mostly I create the art in a video because I'm always so torn. Like sometimes, of course, I want to make art just for myself, like I did here. This is nothing spectacular, but I was not in a very creative mood. But mostly when I want to create in here, I do turn on the camera, because then I always feel guilty kind of when I don't. Because I think, well, someone could have been inspired by this or could have profited from a certain technique. So I'm always juggling between, let's do something for ourselves, for, you know, just mental health and feeling creative, or let's share it with like-minded viewers who would enjoy seeing the process and who would enjoy actually going through my thought process to inspire their own creativity. So that is something I struggle with every time I create. So mostly I will turn on the camera, but I do have moments like these where I'm just like, okay, I just need to do something for myself right now. Next, there's a question from Blar. And she asks, do you have pages for every day, or rather every week? How do you distinguish the months from each other? So this is going to be a very quick one because I think you've seen it by now. So I have a double spread for every week, and I distinguish the months from each other by using different digital kits. And one thing I always forget to do, I've done it here, but for a different reason. I think it's very fun to have tabs at the beginning of your month so that you can easily get to that month. And I always forget to do that. But I do see very easily where a new month starts. First of all, I have my cover page for the month. So I will stamp the name of the month on the kit, and then the kit changes. So this is my February kit. I have February here, and it's a whole different kit. Next up, I have a question from Barbara. Also curious about source material. So Barbara has asked a previous question as well. Can't recall the name of the artist who often paints for you. Does she create custom designs and characters for much of your sharings? I love that you share your talent on free YouTube. Have you ever considered offering a year-long course for a fee, and how much would you charge? This is a very loaded question for me. So the name of the artist who used to design a lot of elements for my digitals is Ray, and she can be found on Instagram with the account name my.journal.lab. I will link her Instagram down below. She is a very talented artist, but she's also a biologist. So her main focus is biology, and this is what is taking currently, I think, all of her time. So she has created beautiful, beautiful images for me in the past. My favorite are probably this Victorian steampunk kit. I mean, look how gorgeous these images are. Look at this. This is all Ray. I mean, all of the ladies here, they're all from Ray, drawn on her iPad. And I actually have a video on how I make digitals using images from Ray with an Egyptian kit. So I will link that video down below for you. It is a little bit of an older video, but that was the process that I used to make these digitals. How gorgeous are these? She is really super talented. Just look at these. So this is my Victorian steampunk kit. Love, love, love. So then, of course, the question is, how do I do it now if Ray is no longer able to provide these images? Well, first of all, there are websites that provide stock images where you can buy licenses. So I would license different focal points. For example, like this February kit from last year, these are stock images. and I will then take the images like the cat, the heart, this part here, the reef, the background, and put them all together into a page. These pages here where I have the calendar, or also here the step tracker, I make by first creating the background, and then I lay these calendar elements over it and make them a bit transparent so that you can still see the image underneath. So when we look at this page, for example, all these are separate elements. We have the branch, we have the bird, we have a cat, dog, the hearts, the bee, again, hearts. We have the text here and the piece of paper. So all of these are single elements that you get kind of like clip art, and you can digitally then place them on your page. So that takes a lot of time to arrange them and rearrange them and so forth. And then, of course, there's always the question, am I using AI to generate my kits? And I have started to integrate AI elements into my digitals because the AI can help me create images that I am not able to find on other sites. So in the past, when I had a specific idea in my mind, I had to search for what images are available and then make them fit closest to what I have in my mind, which sometimes was not possible at all because the images simply did not exist. Or I would have Ray draw them, or I would have to adapt my own vision of my kit to work with whatever is available. So today I am super happy that I am able to create parts of my kit with AI that reflect exactly what I have in my mind. So now there are no limits anymore actually to what I can create, because whatever I have in my mind, I can create with the help of AI and then make my own digital with it. So for example, my steampunk kit. When we look at this fairy, for example, I would have never been able to find a steampunk fairy on a site that offers digital images. So I was able to create her using AI. And it actually doesn't take much less time creating with AI than if I would do everything manually, because it takes a lot of time to get it just right. AI has a lot of limitations still. Of course, AI is learning all the time. But to get an image just right and just how you want takes a lot of trial and error and editing and re-editing and then adding it to your page. So I don't know that it's quicker, but I would say it's more fun and there are no limits to what you can do, which as a creator makes it so fun. Even if I would have the talent to draw images like this by myself, I would not have the time to both draw the images and create the kits and film and edit the videos. There's just not enough time in the day for one person to do all of that. So usually before AI, you had illustrators who were great at drawing, whose business it is to create these images and to potentially sell them. And there are creators like me who use those elements to create whole pages. I personally don't know anyone that does both. So this is the route I have chosen because I like to work physically in the pages rather than just creating everything digitally, or rather than just even hand drawing and coloring all the images, but then not having time to actually play with them. Oh, I almost forgot. There's another part to that question. Have you ever considered offering a year-long course for a fee, and how much would you charge? For years, I have been planning to make some online courses, but somehow I have not been able to, obviously, otherwise you would know about it. I am again planning it for this year, but I cannot imagine doing a year-long course. That is completely overwhelming. So far, I haven't even been able to create a week-long course or a month-long course or anything like that. And hence, I don't know what I would charge for it either. So I would have to do a lot of research. Even for when I create like a smaller course, I'm going to have to do my own research to figure out what I can charge for it and what do other creators charge and where would mine fit in there. So if that's something you want to do, I would ask you to do research, find year-long courses and see what they cost. So next I have a question from RN Typical asking, what do you plan to do with your journals when the shelf is full? Very valid question. My shelf is currently full in terms of the first row being more than full. My shelf is deep enough that I can add a second row to the back, but I don't really want to do that because I don't want to hide my journals. I want to see them. So I am selling some of my journals that don't have any personal writing in them. For example, I would never sell my Defamorember journal. That's very personal. And of course, I have lots of other journals that have personal writing in them that I would never sell because they are memories for me and they're too personal to give to anyone. But I have journals, for example, projects that I've created for the Digital Collage Club, my monthly design team projects, which I will let go of, although it's very hard for me to let go any of these because they're all my babies. They're all different. Each one of them is unique, and I know I will never create the same journal again. I'm not a mass maker. Each journal is very specific, and I use a lot of different bindings. So if I sell that, I also can't reference it anymore in future projects, in future videos. So it's very hard for me to let go of these journals, but I do realize that I probably should let go of some of these. It's so hard. If you make journals yourself, maybe you know this feeling, or maybe you go into them making them for other people as gifts or to sell them and you have a different mindset, but I find it super difficult. Let me know if you can relate to that feeling. So I have a question here from Ketura. Hello, I followed your format for one of my junk journal planners and it works out so perfectly. Oh, that's awesome. That makes me so happy. I love it and thanks for sharing. You're very welcome. It appears there are the to-dos, but is there a particular spot in your planner for ideas, like journal ideas and inspirations, or an artist that inspired you on a technique? Either way, I love all of the things you create. So thank you so much. I don't have a particular place in my junk journal planners where I would add planner ideas or journal ideas or inspirations, because I could add them anywhere, you know. I always have places where I can add things to, like for example here, I have never even added anything in here. I could add it in any one of my pockets. Here I've sewn 2 pages together into which I could add anything. I also still have this envelope into which I could add something to. So I have so many spots where I can add things, but I would probably not add ideas or inspirations into these junk journal planners because this is not the place I would look for them. I keep those kind of ideas on my phone in lists. So whenever I have a video idea, I will add that to a list I have on my phone. That's the easiest for me to look at because I always have my phone with me. That just makes more sense for me than to add those kind of things into a junk journal planner like this. Next, I have a question from Rebecca. Thank you for sharing your artistic process and junk journal journey with us. You're very welcome. My mom and I live far apart, but she introduced me to your videos, and now when we catch up, we love talking about our latest projects and new to us techniques we've seen in your videos, like jelly prints. I'm curious to know, are there any techniques, styles, or themes that you used to use more in your early work compared to your latest journals? Do you miss any that you would like to revisit or bring forward into future journals? Thank you so much. Sending you warm wishes from Seattle. Sending warm wishes back to Seattle, Rebecca. I really love this question because it really made me think. So I just randomly took one of my old journals from my bookcase. This is one that has a no-sew binding. We have lots of charms here on the bottom. And I used vintage book covers, made my own spine, and attached the 2 covers using book cloth. And this is a journal I made and used in 2019. So when I flip through this, I instantly see that my style was very, very different. I also added a lot of elements from Happy Mail, which I still do in my junk journal planners. And I probably should take more inspiration from them. For example, I see these cute beads that I made. I used to use digital kits from other creators, children's book pages. And as you can see, these pages are very eclectic. I don't see a particular style. I do see elements that I could bring forward into new journals. Oh, I almost missed this one. Oh, that was a fun page. So for example, I just came across one of my ruffles. I think I've made them once only and then never again because somehow, I don't know, I don't like them as much. But obviously I liked it back then. So sure, there are things that I could revive. Like this is a very fun pocket here. There's definitely pocket styles that I could revisit. I would have to rewatch my own video because there's no way I remember how I made those. But I don't see that I've used so many techniques as I do now. I don't know, I don't have the feeling. This makes me smile a lot. These are hand-drawn mandalas that I have drawn on a vacation in Egypt with my hubby. These are available as digitals as well, actually. I added photos just like I do now. So yeah, I guess some things have changed, some things not so much, but I would say the style in total has completely changed. So I don't think that I would bring that much forward. This is a very long-winded answer, isn't it? Oh, here's something actually that I would like to bring forward again. This is a vintage handkerchief from my Goodwill that I used as a pocket, and I used to do that a lot more. I actually don't do that at all anymore. So thank you for that question. I will hopefully remember to add more of these pockets to my junk journals and junk journal planner because I think they're absolutely adorable. So if you don't ever see me doing that in the next couple of months, please remind me in a video. Another one of my mandalas. That was a fun page. Oh, we have another ruffle. Yeah, so very, very different. I would not go back to this style, but yeah, definitely some elements I could incorporate. And one thing I do like doing, as I've shown before in the flip throughs, is I love recycling art and adding them to current planners or journals. Then I have a question from Rosa. Hi Barbara, I'd love, if you please, to better understand how do you plan a cover for a junk journal. For example, when it comes to a focal point in a journal cover, how do you make it pop with smaller pieces, lace, frames, washi tape, etc.? How do you choose the tiny bits behind and around the focal point? Thank you. So this question is more relevant to junk journals in general, but I can briefly show you an example. So this is one of my favorite junk journals. It's a more recent one. I will link the playlist to this down below. So I think it's called Grungy Vintage Junk Journal, and there's several episodes to it. And this is a cover I made from a vintage cover. Also the spine here is the original spine, and then this is the back. As you can see, I added fabric to connect all of it. So you can see step by step how I made this whole journal. As I said, it's definitely one of my favorites. It's very different from my other journals. It's not a writing journal, it's more just a journal to enjoy flipping through, kind of like you would have a painting on the wall that you enjoy looking at. I would enjoy flipping through a journal like this. And of course, I also loved the process of making it, which was very different to any other journal I've ever made. So going back to your question on the focal point. So obviously this here was my focal point, and I would say refer to making the cover in this series for more details. But the short version would be, once I have picked my cover piece, I would then just place it on the plain cover. And in this case, I saw that there's not a lot of contrast. So the question is, how do I make this stand out from a color like this? Because this obviously is not going to pop off a color like this. So in this case, I added lighter papers underneath because that already draws you in. And then I always like adding some more tactile elements. I love textures, both on my cover and in my journals. So by just adding a few elements like cheesecloth around here, or even this old paintbrush attached with wire, and then also some more sewing thread here, and all these bits, they just add interest and they all pull your attention to the focal point. Obviously, you want to make sure that all the colors fit together to play around with the values, the dark and the light elements. But you want to choose elements that will enhance your focal point rather than distract from it, obviously. I guess that in a nutshell, that's what I would do. And it's hard to give a general rule because each cover is going to be different. You'll just have to see what works with whatever focal point you choose. And a lot of times, if you're not sure, when you're looking at it, take a picture, because that will give you a much more neutral view of your cover or page, whatever you're working on, than if you look at it from this angle, like you would be working on it. Another really good tip to figure out if your cover is balanced and the colors are working and everything is to look at it upside down, because if it's still balanced upside down, then it works. I hope that helps a little bit. Then I have a second question from Rosa saying, hi again. Another question is, have you ever thought about organizing a workshop in real life in the future? I have, and I would love to, but the logistics of it are quite daunting and overwhelming, to be honest. You cannot imagine how much I would love to have an in-person workshop, to interact with you in real life, to be able to show you things in real life and to help you with any questions you might have. It would give me so much joy. But at the same time, the thought of the organizing of it all is very overwhelming for me. From finding a location to finding a hotel that I could recommend for people coming from outside of Vienna, to actually planning the theme of the workshop and structuring all of that, to deal with all the payments and all the admin work. I honestly don't know how to do it on my own with everything else that I'm currently doing. So the main reason I haven't done it really is time and feeling overwhelmed by the whole process because I've never done it. So that's my honest answer to that one. I'm hoping one day I can make one because I would really love to. Then I have a question from Stefan. Is your planners more of a way to promote your digitals? Super interesting questions. I had to think about that for a little bit. So on one hand, of course, it's an opportunity for me to present my latest kits. I'm running a small creative business all on my own. So of course I need to figure out ways to pay my bills, because this is how I pay my rent and every other cost I have. So obviously I'm going to share new products that I have so that you can purchase them if you're interested in them. If I don't share them in my videos, you're not going to know what is available. So of course that is one aspect of it. But the other aspect is that I really, truly enjoy working with these kits. And this method has worked for me since a few years now because of the combination of junk journaling and planning. And of course I want to share that with you because I'm thinking, well, if it works for me, maybe it works for someone else as well. This is how these planners started out. This was my very first one. So this is an old Reader's Digest book from my Goodwill. So this was an altered book. And I started this in July 2020. And this is what they looked like at the beginning. So you see how they have evolved. It was just way too much work to do all this by hand every month, to do my tracker manually every month, as well as my weekly pages. So these are stamps. And then everything else is hand done. So this was the origin of the planner. And it has just developed over time because, see, this is when my tracker then became digital. I think just using an Excel sheet. So it was basically just to help myself with these journals. And that's kind of how it evolved. And so I started sharing them and I started making these kits that go with each month. It's so funny to look at these now. So in my Plan With Me playlist, which is linked below, you can find my monthly videos on when I worked on these kind of pages and how I made this book work for me, how we did the pages, and all of that is the beginning of this series. And the last question for today is from Bozomahani, asking, do you still come across people in everyday life who don't know what junk journaling is? I do. They don't know what they're missing. I totally agree with you. I would be completely amazed if I ever run into anyone in everyday life that actually knows what junk journaling is. In Austria, this is not a thing at all. And I always struggle explaining it, because also when people ask me, what do you do? What is your job? I try to explain what I do in my videos, and I always struggle because you don't get it until you see them. It's very hard to explain with words what we do, I have the feeling. And yes, they're totally missing out. I totally agree with you. So thanks for all of your questions. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all of them. Let me know if you want to do another Q&A session. You're welcome to leave general junk journal questions below this video as well, but please indicate that you would like me to answer them in a future video. Love you guys. Mwah, mwah.